Welcome back, troops. Let's Tab 59. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for supporting the channel as always. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It will help me out. Channel's getting bigger. I'm getting close to 4,000 subscribers. I never thought that 6 or 7 months ago when I started all this malarkey. But anyway, thanks for your support. Please, as I say, consider subscribing if you can. So, I'm out today. I'm really out in the cuds today. Look at the state of these fields. I've been traipsing up the side of this hedgerow. So, I did a little video a day or so ago about life after basic training. And I thought, I'll do another one about life after the armed forces, what it's like when you leave the armed forces, whether it's the Army, the Royal Air Force, Royal Navy, Royal Marines. What's it like afterwards? Well, it's a massive subject I've chosen, and obviously I can only really speak for myself, how things have been for me since I left the Army, and how it's changed me. How did it change your personality, and how you change? I mean, you change as you get older anyway, but some of these changes I think happened while I was actually in the Army. I'll give you for instance. So I was quite young. I'd come back from a tour in Northern Ireland, and I was out with my dad. And my dad had to go to, I'll tell you who he had to go to. He had to go to a TV shop to rent a new telly. We used to rent tellies back in the day. A lot of people couldn't afford to buy them. And my poor old dad, he used to rent one. Anyway, I went out with him and parked the motor up, his car, and we bimbled down the road, ran the high street, went to this shop, and he hired his telly. And afterwards we went for a beer. And he said to me, do you know what? He said, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm fine, Dad. He said, all the time I was walking down the high street, you couldn't take your eyes off the windows above the shops or the houses. He said, you was like you was on a patrol. And I didn't even notice I was doing it. Now, I don't think I do that today so much, but certainly another thing I've noticed that I do, and some of you might feel the same, some of you veterans, or some of you lads that are still serving. When you go to a pub, a cafe, or a restaurant maybe, when you go in and you choose your own seat, so maybe not a restaurant where you booked a table, where you can just go and sit anywhere you want. I've found, and I think other veterans have, is when you go in there, you want to sit with your back to the wall, maybe in the corner of the room, so you can observe you can watch your arcs, if you like. And I do that all the time. So I think that's an element of hyper-vigilance, maybe. And like I say, that happened while I was still serving. And I still do it today. If I go in anywhere, I want to sit with my back against the wall and look around. And also if I'm just walking about sometimes, especially if it's a busy town, not round here in the countryside so much, but if I'm in a busy town, I'm always watching people, watching what they're doing. I don't know, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I certainly don't believe that I've personally suffered with any PTSD problems. I mean, when I come back off tours, I was a little bit wound up sometimes. Remember back when I'd done my tours, afterwards, we didn't have any decompression. For the last few years now, guys coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, when those conflicts were on, I think they still do it. You go for decompression. I think they send you to Cyprus, for instance. So you go to Cyprus and you sort of chill out for a couple of weeks before you actually get back home to UK and go on leave. And I think that's a good thing. I can't speak about what happens on decompression after operational tours because I never had it. I remember coming back from Northern Ireland, you just sort of like fell in. Once you get back to camp, you get off the aircraft or whatever, get on the white buses, get back to your camp, you hand your kit in, your rifling, etc. And then you just went down the naffy and got drunk and eventually you'd go home on leave maybe. So there's no decompression. So I think that's probably a good thing, but I can't tell you what goes on in decompression. So I don't think I suffered. I was a little bit, a bit wound up when you come back off a tour sometimes. So those things sort of affect you. Now, when I came out of the Army, obviously I did quite a long time, but I don't think it matters. I think you could do 3 or 4 years. And maybe even if you didn't do an operational tour, I've got friends that done 6 years in the Army and never did a tour. And things have changed for them when they go out of the Army. It could be something as simple as just missing all your mates or missing the lifestyle of being a soldier. I don't know. For me personally, I did quite a long time. But I got out of the Army in May the 11th, 2015. So that's coming up to 9 years, the 9th anniversary this May. It's now February 2024, so April 2024, 9 years out of the army. And when I first got out, got me a lump of money, got me a pension, happy days. Had me dining out, all good. Got home, and the pressure's off, because for years, especially as you go up the ranks more, you do get more pressures on you to solve problems, sort kit out, do your checks, your state. There's quite a lot of things to do. You end up in nearly any job in the army wearing one or two different hats. You've got more than one job to do, responsibility. So when I left, all that disappeared. I thought, this is brilliant. I haven't got to worry about those things anymore. I can get up pretty much when I like it. I get up all the time. I don't just lay in bed all day. But it was quite a relief in one way. It was quite a relaxed feeling, and I liked it. That was about the first year. I missed my mates. Obviously, you always miss your mates, don't you? But you make new friends. And that's the other thing. When you make friends in Civvie Street, whether you get a job after the army or the Air Force, and Navy, was in, when you get a new job, you make friends. Also, normally you do. And then 9 times out of 10, they're civilian friends who've got no service. So it's difficult sometimes to relate to them, because you've got a different sense of humour, I believe. I do believe that soldiers and veterans have got a slightly different sense of humour. We've got a bit of a black humour about us, and our banter's quite strong. I remember being with one of my mates, an old veteran. We were chatting away in a pub somewhere, and because the banter between us, someone said to me, "You don't like him, do you, Keith?" I said, "Yeah, we're best mates." He said, "Doesn't sound like it." I said, "Well, no, we're taking the piss out of each other. That's what we do." That was our way of being friendly. So that's quite different in Civvie Street, I think. So you miss things like that. But how does it change your life after the army? Well, I think you tend to look back on your service with rose-coloured spectacles. You forget a lot of the crap you went through, a lot of the bad times, and you tend to remember just the good times you had with your mates. I think that's an important thing to note. So some people, when they come out, they stick their medals in the drawer, and they don't want to know anymore. They've done their time, they've finished. Other people, they want to still be part of that in a way, by being a veteran and being an active veteran, if you like. Some join the Royal British Legion, some never bother for a few years and then decide to join it afterwards. Of course, a lot of the British Legions have shut down. There's not so many about these days, because the support's no longer there. The days of when every town pretty much had a Royal British Legion, and that's where veterans would go. Cheap drink, and they could relate to each other, old friends, new friends. We all had that common thing that you all served at some stage. And some of the stories that lads have got, I like talking to the older veterans. I'm not an old veteran, but I've spoken to guys from the Second World War and from the Korean War and Malaya and Aden, conflicts that happened well before my time. And some of the stories they come out with, it's fantastic. But there's that common denominator all the way through with veterans when you talk to them. The banter, the stories, really good fun. So, I don't know about any of you do support the British Legion where you are. I do. I've joined the British Legion. It's only a few quid a year. But it just keeps the Legions going. I've got a mate down in Kent who's club secretary of a Royal British Legion. And he said to me, it doesn't matter how much money they take over the bar, if the Royal British Legion National look at that club and say, you haven't got many members, chances are they'll close it down. There used to be a lovely club in Margate, Royal British Legion Club in Margate in Kent. And that shut down a few years ago. I think they've turned it into flats now, purely because, and it was busy, but purely because people didn't want to join it, so went in as a guest for a cheap drink. And there's a lot of people going in there for a cheap drink. They weren't even in the forces. They just knew it was somewhere to get a cheap drink. So if you're thinking about joining the Royal British Legion, try and do it if you've got one near you. That's the problem. You probably haven't got one near you. So I didn't join the Legion initially when I first got out. I gave it a few years and then I joined, and I've kept that membership going now. I don't go down very often to the Legion, But the thing is, I keep my membership going. And I wanted to be active in the veteran community. I didn't just want to go down the Legion and do these stupid videos. That's how these stupid videos started, by me getting involved raising money for military charities. I did the Help the Heroes March, as some of you will know, 150 miles throughout the month of July. And then me and the Trace around done the 26.2 mile night march November last year, 2023. And we raised over £1,000 there for the Royal British Legion Veterans Hub. So that's what I did. That's how I feel. The army has changed me, and as I've got older, I wanted to relate back to the veteran community even more. As I say, it's not for everybody. Some people just want to put their medals away and forget it. Now, back at the house, one quick thing I've got to do before I go, gentlemen and ladies, and that is one of my subscribers, a gentleman called, let's grab these bits, a gentleman called Paul Morgan. Paul, I hope you're watching this, mate. I know you do watch my videos. Paul Morgan is a veteran. He lives up in Alford in Lincolnshire, which is not far from here. It's just up the road, Alford. We've never met up, but hopefully one day we'll get together, maybe at the ex-servicemen's club in Skegness. Now, Paul put a comment on there on one of my videos and said, look, Keith, could you give a shout out to a couple of old veterans that have passed? I said, of course I can, Paul. So Paul's asked me to talk about these following two people very briefly. The first one, and they served together apparently, first one's a Sergeant Major, W2 Malcolm Dodds, and his captain, Captain Stanley Shack Shales, both poachers from Royal Anglian Regiment, and they were Chelsea pensioners. Now Paul met them when he was about 38. Paul was about 38 when he met them. One of the guys was 80 and the other one was 89. And they gave him a bit of, sort of a drinking challenge. I said, let's have a few drinks together, see how you do. Well, Paul said that at the end of the night, he was carried home by the two Chelsea pensioners. One was 80, one was 89. And these two lads, W2 Malcolm Dodds and Captain Stanley Shack Shales, they carried Paul home. Paul, what do you like? Anyway, just thought I'd mention those because Paul asked me to. If anyone else wants me to talk about a veteran, send me some details and I'll give them a shout out at the end of the video. It's never a problem. So anyway, that's the end of this one. Have a great weekend, everyone. Till the next time, remember, get your pack on, get your hat on, get out there, do a bit of tabbing. Weather's getting better now. Remember, let's tab.